Okay, welcome back to TribPreps. We have week 7 in the books in Wisconsin tonight. James and I out at a couple of big MVC games. We might be a little short tonight, but it's Oktoberfest weekend, so be it.
For me, it's UWL Whitewater.
Well, yeah, you have that. Yeah, you have that too. So you have that on Saturday. But start a quick score list. Starting the MVC. Onalaska beat Sparta 42-14, keeping command of the MVC. Along with that, taking over sole possession of first place because Reedsburg beat Baraboo tonight 41-27. Logan beat Toma 35-21 in a game that it needed to keep playoff hopes alive. Holman beat Central 24-13 in a game that led 17-0 at the half. In the Cooley, Aquinas 46-6 over Arcadia. West Salem 52-14 over Viroqua. So those two teams are still tied at the top and heading toward that week 9 meeting. Westby 49, Black River Falls 14, GET 42, Altoona 12, and a good win for GET between two similar teams. Cashton keeps rolling 56-6 over New Lisbon, Luther 60-6 over Necedah. Royal beat Brookwood 34-0, and Bangor gets a non-conference win 27-0 over Ithaca. DeSoto, again, still undefeated, 36-0 over Kickapoo Lafarge. Caledonia gets a 35-20 win over Goodhue and a good tune-up for next week's game against Chatfield. Melrose Mindoro, 2 wins in a row, 14-8 over Independence Gilmanton. And then Alma Pepin, 42-14 over Blair Taylor in a game between two teams that were undefeated in the Dairyland. And now Pepin Alma moves ahead to that. Blair Taylor drops back in the pack a little bit. So let's start with your game. You were out at the Central Holman game at UWL. Yep. Holman, 3 wins in a row. They were really struggling going into that stretch, but they really kind of established it. And it wasn't dominant by any means, just looking at stats.
It looked like it might have been in that first half, particularly the first quarter. You mentioned starts. Central got off to a really rough start. They punted 3 and out on their opening possession, gave up a touchdown on the next drive. They muffed the kickoff and basically set up, practically goal to go for Holman, and they scored again. And they were up suddenly 14-0 within the span of, 3 minutes. They controlled the ball throughout the first half. At halftime, I think it was 31-13 in terms of Holman plays to Central plays. They really kept Mason Elston off the field, who was back after missing 3 weeks with concussions and other issues. And to Central's credit, and this is something Mitch Olson mentioned, after the first quarter they played pretty well. There was a long Holman drive that ate up nearly 10 minutes of clock in the second quarter.
That's what happens with that offense.
Yeah, but they only got held to a field goal then.
Okay.
And then come the fourth quarter, Mason Elston throws a touchdown pass to Boston Brindley. Boston Brindley later actually has an 80-yard touchdown pass to Aaron Polma. And that was on a really weird play. It was sort of a lateral. I've seen it once or twice before. It was basically Elston threw a pass that bounced off the turf, but it was backwards to Brindley. Mm-hmm. And everyone thought the play was dead. Brindley throws it long, and it's an easy touchdown, but that was sort of at the end of the game when it was out of reach.
It was already decided by that point?
Yeah. Okay. This was a game that it felt like with the muffed kick return, there was a fumble in the third quarter. They got stopped at the goal line on their opening drive in the second half. A late Holman drive, it looked like Central had gotten a third down stop. They get flagged for a late hit. Sideline starts chirping, get flagged for unsportsmanlike, and they basically spot them 20-something yards. It's sort of like the Reedsburg game and sort of like a lot of games they've had this year. They can probably pinpoint, 4 or 5 plays. If we can get those back, we're in control, or at the very least, they're not in the situation where they're down 14-0 early. So that's the story on Central. Holman got a lot of great running going. Tangblad, 67 rushing yards.
He's the quarterback, yes.
He had a rushing touchdown. It was Blake Goyetti, 40 yards. He had those 2 touchdowns in the opening quarter. Tyrese McCoy, 59 yards. Matt McBride, 58 yards. So they got the ball around a lot. that's, I joke with you,
the balance.
the balance that they're looking for. They didn't throw any passes, but they got balance that they want from their running game. So
Yes.
Holman's on a roll, and it sets up for a big game with Logan next week.
Yes.
Where it's win and in for Holman, and Logan needs the win to keep their playoff hopes alive.
Logan has to run the table. Had to before tonight. Got a big. It was a similar start to your game. Logan went out and scored right away, and then on the kickoff, Daniil Roberts came up and just booted it really hard, like a little, not even a line drive, kept it low to the ground, right off a Toma frontline player, and then recovered the ball himself, right near midfield. And Logan then goes in and scores another touchdown, both by Eli Reynolds, the first two. And all of a sudden it's 13-0 before Toma's taking a snap. So, and Toma's not like a quick strike offense, so had some trouble there. Logan really seemed to control this game the whole time. Toma got within a touchdown twice. They had a big kickoff return to start the second half, got them within 21-14. Later, Drew Brookman had a touchdown catch. They were within a touchdown again there. But, between Johnny Lever and Eli Reynolds, I think Reynolds had 120-some yards tonight. He also had a huge punt return that set up a touchdown as well, about a 60-yarder that gave him a first down deep in Toma territory, and they ended up scoring on that one too. So a really big night for Eli Reynolds. And Johnny Lever really, as the second half went along, kind of took over in the ground game, took over most of the carries there. So I thought it was a very impressive game by Logan tonight. They played pretty well defensively. They made Toma work for the yards that it got. Of course, they're going to find some things to nitpick, but I thought it was a pretty good performance for a team that had its back against the wall and had to win to get into the playoffs. And like you said, now that sets up a really good game, I think, next week with Logan at Holman, both of them really needing a win. Holman will close out against Reedsburg, which had a one-sided win over Baraboo tonight. You don't want it to come down to that.
Yeah, I was gonna say
you want to win this game. But if you're Logan, you have Holman and Central left. You win those two games, you're in. So I think they're confident that they can go out and do that. Tonight's game ended a little losing streak for them. They had a tough loss last week, so a very good win by the Rangers. Other things tonight that stand out to me, Cashton scoring 56 points against New Lisbon, I think is a pretty big deal. New Lisbon's been a pretty good team, had only lost to Luther in this point.
And from the looks of it, that was all basically sort of like Holman. It was a lot of groundwork. They didn't have to go to the air a lot to do it.
Yep, when you have Colin O'Neill, you don't have to very much.
Nope.
Another impressive win for Aquinas, and same for West Salem again. Like I said, that really sets up that Week 9 matchup as long as they can each win one more time. I think a big deal for Onalaska taking over sole possession of first place with 2 weeks left. I really didn't know what would happen in that Reedsburg-Baraboo game. There was some talk of Baraboo had some players that were ineligible, so I don't know if that played into it or not. Bangor with a shutout, that's always good. Caledonia, I think that's a good win, 35-20 over Goodhue. They have a really big game against Chatfield. I saw Chatfield on Thursday in a one-sided win over La Crescent. Chatfield is the real deal. Men against boys. They won state last year. Just a really, really good team, and that's going to be up in Chatfield. So Caledonia's got its hands full on that one. Hey, let's point out Mel Min, 2 wins in a row. I know it was 14-8, and they were down 8-6, I think it was, and then they had or maybe it was 8-7, I can't remember. But their second touchdown gave them the lead and gave them a win. So give them some credit for that. DeSoto had another big night for Evan Pedretti. Bryce Grelly scored a couple of touchdowns for him as well. So not a lot of surprises, I don't think, tonight.
One that stuck out to me is Royal getting their first conference win against Blair Taylor and doing it
Brookwood.
Brookwood, and doing it in a shutout nonetheless.
Yep. I guess maybe we didn't see that one coming. But a good, like I said, Bangor shutting out Ithaca, that's a good win. Ithaca's usually a very good program. In terms of any conference implications tonight, I mean, we still have Cashton and Luther. I talked about the Aquinas and West Salem being on that collision course. There's another one there with Cashton and Luther. Luther has a big game against Bangor next week that it will host, and then they close out at Cashton. So they're on track for a big one there. We talked about the Aquinas and West Salem. And Onalaska just seems like it's in complete control of the MVC right now with that lead. Prairie du Chien also had a big win tonight, beating Dodgeville. And from what I saw online, Ty Wagner had 6 first-half touchdowns in that game. But again, that win keeps them unbeaten in the SWC with a game left against Broadhead Judah, which could be a really big one. Broadhead Judah state ranked. So there's something else to look forward to in the next couple of weeks. So thanks for joining us. LacrosseTribune.com is your hub for all of this information that we put together on Friday nights for football. We have game stories, we have videos, we have photos, all up there. We continue to add to the coverage throughout the weekend. As James mentioned, we have a big UWL Whitewater game tomorrow too, so there will be some more up on the website for that. So until next week, I'm Todd Sommerfeld. This is James Crosse. Thanks for joining us at TribPreps.